month-long phenomenon, but a year-long phenomenon. So that's why we've gathered an esteemed panel today about an interesting and insightful discussion on how companies can sustain the festive season growth momentum. And to discuss that, we have some of great business leaders. I have with me Soumya, founding member Clovia, Mr. Vineet Jain, CEO VMart, and Mr. Ravi Saxena. It will be good if all of you can briefly introduce yourself to the audience, and then we can quickly start the discussion. So over to you, Soumya, if you could maybe.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Kapil. I'm Soumya Kant. I'm one of the co-founders at Clovia, and I'm heading growth here now. I've been associated with the brand since the early days. I'm a chartered accountant by education, and then I shifted to the most fashionable that there could be, the lingerie space. Clovia is primarily India's one of the fastest growing lingerie brands. We do sleepwear, activewear, shapewear as well. And we've just recently launched our skincare brand as well, Clovia Botanica. So yeah, that's about me.
Thanks, Soumya. Vineet, if you could share your brief intro.
Sure. Thanks, Kapil. Hi, myself, Vineet Jain. At present, I am working with the company VMart Limited, and I'm working as a CEO here. And before that, I worked in the Future Group for the good 18-19 number of the year. So put together, luckily, I am in the retail since inception of the modern trade of retail in the India. So good 22 numbers of the years I am in the retail industry. Before that, I worked in the finance, and since my education background is also like that, I did all CA, CS, ICWA, then AMP from the IIM Ahmedabad, etc. And so this is a brief introduction from my side. Thank you.
Thanks, Vineet. Ravi, if you could hear from you as well.
Yeah, hi, Kapil. First of all, could you confirm if all of us are your customers or not yet? We are. And we have a very good experience with Unicommerce.
Thanks so much.
Good to see Soumya in the very early founding years of Clovia. I was happy to be associated in mentoring the co-founders of Clovia. It was a brilliant experience. So happy to see the growth. Good to see you again, Vineet, too. I became an entrepreneur about 10 years back when I founded Wonderchef. Happy to share that we have grown quite well. Yesterday, we have closed our Series C funding round also, and looking forward to even better growth. I think within this relatively short period of time in our old industry, it's a traditional industry, about 100-year-old. There are 100-year-old brands competing with us. We have been able to carve a niche for ourselves, have become the fastest growing brand in India within the last 10 years, and have a sizable scale now. An equal balance between online and offline. So a truly omni-channel strategy for growth, which has helped us, and probably we'll talk more about it as we go along. So over to you, Kapil. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks so much, Ravi. Just a small request. Your name is appearing as Vineet. If you could just rename your profile.
How do I do that?
There's an option on top right. You can just do rename.
Okay, let me see.
Actually, I was just wondering why the name change.
This is Vineet's influence.
Yes.
Extending.
All along, I've been wondering, this looks like Ravi sir, but why does the name say differently?
No. Look, on the top, I can only see Q&A and leave. And I'm afraid to touch any one of those. So, I am Ravi Saxena. Today called Vineet Jain, live with it. It's okay.
Sure. Great. So thanks again. I think, like I said, it's a esteemed panel, and I'm really excited having all of you here to learn from you about how, for your respective brands, how are you and continue to sustain growth even after the festive season. So that's kind of my first question to all of you. One, if you could share the kind of response that you received during the festive season this time compared to some of the earlier ones. And then we can maybe talk about sustaining the growth momentum subsequently. So Soumya, maybe we could start with the same order. If you could talk about the kind of response your category, your brand received in this festive season.
Yeah, so I think we've all had a tough 6 months in 2020, and ever since the growth has been phenomenal. We've seen that a lot of, we were anyway a more mass premium brand always, which meant that a lot of our customers come from tier 2 and tier 3 cities and beyond. And we've seen that during this festive season, we've gathered more from that segment. We've been able to get those customers to shift to online shopping, to shift to our brand. We've been able to acquire newer customers. And I think if I were to compare it to the last 2 years of festive season, we've grown over 100% year on year.
Okay.
So for us, and not just Clovia.com, but also the marketplaces, the EBOs have bounced back, the LFS stores have bounced back. So overall, the growth this particular festive season has been quite phenomenal.
Okay, great. Thanks. Vineet, if you could hear from you, because you obviously would have seen a very, both on the offline and online space as well. So if you could share how the growth you've seen in the festive season this time.
So growth, when I'm comparing with obviously the 2020, the growth is phenomenal. The reason is obviously the last year also a lot of restriction due to COVID, etc.
Right.
But unfortunately, fortunately, I can say the 2019 year is not going out our life in comparison, because all the corporates, all the retailers, I think everyone, they are comparing with the pre-COVID year 2019.
Right.
And when I'm looking at that, like pre-COVID figure, what we did versus what we did in this festive season. So I am talking like after the COVID, like June, July, and August, I think there is a very, very good recovery. We have not expected the recovery will be in that kind of a tune. And our results are like, you can see the V-Mart results, it's a listed company.
Right.
So you can see the result also. The recovery is in the tune of the 90% kind of. So we thought, okay, why not to attempt for the some positive growth during the festive. But I can say that unfortunately September until like the Sahara, okay, which is like mid of the October, the growth was like quite lukewarm, which was like beyond the much below than the what was our expectation. But after the 15th of October, and even the days which are going in this week also, the growth is again phenomenal. So put together, when I'm comparing the Puzo market, which is like largely relevant for the West Bengal and the eastern part of India, including the Jharkhand, etc., the number was okay type. I think it's below than the what we were thought. But when I'm looking the Diwali number, which is like starting from the after Dussehra, I think numbers were phenomenal. So 2 to 3 things which actually worked for us. I'm talking both the online and offline here. One thing is like, since again this year the Diwali coincide with the winter, so that was a need. I think that's actually helped us a lot. Secondly, kids wear as a category that again fired us. You know, whether COVID, non-COVID customers are there or not, but you know, the kids buying is always there because of the need and the side changes, etc. Third thing, I can say I think luckily I can say the first week of November, which was like fabulous. As an organization also, we touched the ever highest number, which was like crossed the ever highest number. I am not saying that by including the new store, etc. It is like even the like-to-like store also, we crossed our ever highest number. Okay. So that shows the good positivity in the market. That shows the customer confidence in us as a brand. And even when I'm looking at the market also, I think there's a good crowd, because what happened in the early September and by mid of October, the expectation was there that third wave may come. So there was the apprehension in the mind of the customer. Right. But I think after that, there was like customer move freely. When you go to the market today, or even the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, the people are, I think there's a good amount of the crowd in the market also. So there's no fear of the COVID third wave, etc., etc. And that is actually helping us a lot. One big change what we have seen on the floor, that senior citizens you see much lesser in number, even as on today also on the floor. So that is the one thing I think which is like continuing. We understand the fear there. So I think rest of the things, otherwise the 3-4 weeks, I think super build up of the momentum. Super.
Good to hear that. Ravi, from your perspective, obviously building a D2C brand and starting like a omnichannel first, where you're leveraging both online and offline, and particularly for your category where I think there's a lot of spike that happens in the festive season. Did you see this year as well spike similar to previous years? Was it higher, lower in your case?
I will give a slightly different perspective. Last year in COVID, when we were all stuck at home, maids and cooks could not come, and Wonder Chef being an aspirational brand, premium brand, most of our customers have cooks or maids or helps at home. So they could not come, they were not allowed in by the societies. And for the first time, a whole lot of our customers discovered where their kitchen was. and what happens inside a kitchen. The boys who were trained by their moms properly, they could help in chopping, at times in cooking. The rest, like me, had to wash dishes. So a lot of customers called us and said कि यार हमें तो पता ही नहीं था इतना खराब non-stick pan हम use कर रहे हैं, हमारी मेड बताती नहीं है कभी हमको, हमें अपना पूरा kitchen ही Wonder Chef कर देना है.
Okay.
Or they will say that, you know, अभी समझ में आ रहा है chopping कितना मुश्किल काम होता है. So do you have some electric choppers, manual choppers, blenders? We want to be healthy, so can we buy some healthy equipment because our positioning is health. So last year, after the first couple of months, where even the logistics were closed, I think we saw a huge boom. And despite effectively 4 or 5 months having been lost in FY21, we grew as compared to FY20. This year, I would say the excitement is not so much.
Okay.
Growth is there. We are growing 50% year on year as compared to even last year. So can't complain about growth. And growth is coming because of our efforts in terms of expanding our distribution and penetration and our D2C strategy.
Okay.
But the excitement of the consumer is lesser because I think वो 1-1.5 साल kitchen में काम करके एक तो excitement खत्म हो गई. दूसरा, this year, COVID hit middle class and upper middle class much more.
That's true.
And it was a very sobering experience. पिछले साल तो work from home, excitement चल रहा था. किसको होता है COVID हमें तो पता ही नहीं कैसे लाखों के figures आते हैं. We don't know anybody. But this year it hit home with the oxygen crisis, with terrible suffering. So I think the excitement is lower. But yeah, the new demand, replacement demand, everything, and our penetration, we are growing by 50-52% this year.
Sure. And Ravi, do you see typically for your category a spike in the festive season, or is it more throughout the year that you see for your category particularly?
No, I think India is a market where Diwali, people save money to spend on Diwali. And except for FMCG probably, where you buy your daily needs, everybody sees a spike. Even FMCG for that matter sees a spike, as we all know. Distributor ज़्यादा माल उठा लेते हैं, उनको दबा दी जाता है माल festive के जोश में, schemes के जोश में. But certainly durables category sees a lot of spike in the festive season. And in these 4 months of festive, August, September, October, November, we do almost 40% of the annual sale, and which we are still doing this year. So in festive also, as compared to last year, we are about 45% higher.
Understood. So Ravi, then the next question is, and let me just start with you here, is now that you see a spike in the festive season, what are the challenges that you see in being able to sustain this growth in a non-festive season, getting customers? And now you're saying that even compared to last year, this year, the excitement is not as much. What are some of the things that you are doing as a business to make sure that you continue to sustain the growth momentum even in non-festive season?
Yeah, I think we need to do a lot. So the first thing we did was we, as a management team, we cancelled all post-Diwali holiday. And we said, boss, please come to the office. We need to sit on a strategy meet. Everybody was very surprised. कि अभी क्या strategy meet होगी? We said, कि post-Diwali होने क्या वाला है? Let's discuss that.
Sure. Ravi, sir, your video is not appearing right now.
Oh, is it? 1 second. Is it okay?
Now it is. Yeah, it's okay.
All right. So it starts at home. So we sat and we put our heads together कि अभी क्या होने वाला है, because post Diwali as it is बहुत down जाता है sentiment पूरे market में. Distributors कम माल उठाते हैं, dealers कम माल उठाते हैं, customer कम जाता है because खर्च चुका होता है. So how do we sustain that? I think the answer lies for us in our omni-channel strategy. That एक जगह से नहीं business आएगा तो दूसरी जगह से आएगा.
Okay.
We have to, the third wave, as Vineet said, the third wave hasn't really happened, and thank God for that. Hopefully it won't happen. So we have to do the good things that we used to do, which is a lot of demonstrations and customer touch points, which we need to create again, which for last 1.5 years had kind of stopped. A lot of promoters had been removed from the outlets. So we are reinvesting in promoters, in ISPs, what we call them, in shop promoters. Demonstrators, that is one. Secondly, we are going a lot towards BTL, खाना बना के taste कराना, खिलाना, juices पिलाना. That is how the brand has been made across general trade and modern trade and our direct sales network of women. We are doing a lot of that. We are restarting our seminars in our direct sales network, which had again stopped for a year and a half. तो अभी शायद थोड़ा सा ऑनलाइन स्पेस में एक्साइटमेंट कम हो जाएगा, बट इस टाइम जो पुश स्ट्रेटजी है दैट विल अगेन टेक ओवर. पुल स्ट्रेटजी थोड़ी कम हो जाएगी, कॉस्ट बढ़ने लगे हैं, लेकिन पुश स्ट्रेटजी जो हमारी पहले से थी उसको हम ज्यादा बढ़ा रहे हैं. And second thing is, I think this is the time when retailers and brands have to come together, because this is a common challenge that everybody is facing कि अब sustain कैसे करेंगे growth. देखिए economy में कमी आई है. Let's not be fooled by the stock market. We all know what is happening in the stock market, and we know कि अरे सारी companies अच्छा कर रही हैं, but these are large companies, listed companies जो अच्छा कर रही हैं because they've been able to leverage growth by keeping their boot on the neck of the SMEs. But overall jobs कम हुए हैं, salaries कम हुई हैं, लोग ऑफिस में वापस नहीं आना चाहते. All that hurts productivity. So ultimately it will hurt the brands and the sales of retailers as well as the brands. So I think a lot of work is required together between retailers and brands to come up with promotions, with new user experiences. Customers want to experience, they want to get out. Right. They may not have money in their pockets. So I think we have to find innovative ways to give that value to the customer. Understood.
Thanks, Ravi. Moving on to you, Soumya. For you particularly, obviously, Clovia is in a niche category, and you are. I'm assuming you're more dependent on online than offline. As a brand, I think that split, if you can share, that will also be helpful for the audience. How are you online? Everyone knows like festive is a big thing for online, right? So in fact, we see as Unicommerce also, we see a lot of slump happening in post Diwali season. So for a online major focus brand, how are you kind of driving the post festive season momentum for your brand?
Okay, so first to clarify the online offline split, we were a online first brand, and then we moved to offline only in the beginning of 2019, and year into it, obviously COVID hit, so we went slow on it, but we still have about 220 touch points. We spread across EBOs, LFS, so it contributes less than 10% right now, but we're betting big on it in the coming quarters.
Sure.
Being a niche category, our season actually begins with festive. While there's no season per se in lingerie and loungewear, it's not like winters will hit and I'll wear something different. In lounge, yes, a little bit, but not in lingerie specifically. However, this when Diwali, Navratri begins, the wedding season also begins. A lot of travel, vacations begin, and then Valentine hits. So the festive season actually coincides with our overall, 6 months, wherein we see a higher sale than the previous 6 months.
Sure.
Actually, for us, sustaining the sales starting April becomes a problem, and not really in November.
Okay.
And how we go about it is that we focus on acquiring newer customers and keeping the customers engaged during these first 6 months, as we call it. And in the next part of the 6 months, we keep the conversation going with them. We try and stay, relevant to them in their mind space. So if they're looking for, if somebody has bought a bra from us, then we will go ahead and suggest a brief as well. The intent is to cover as much of their wardrobe size as much as we can.
Okay.
So if somebody has bought just lingerie, then we will try and focus on saying that, hey, you like the bra from us, why don't you try our loungewear as well?
Sure.
Now, if you bought lounge, then why don't you buy our active? And obviously, with this, we also grow the categories that we're working on. So for us, we were, our core obviously remains lingerie, but then we started to get into skincare. So now we're taking more and more shelf space of the customer and staying relevant in their mind space. So that engagement is helping us sustain this slump, a little bit of slump that comes post-festive.
Understood. And does post-festive also mean higher discounts for you in general compared to the 6 months that you've talked about?
No, honestly, not really, no.
Okay. So you are also seeing like a shift for sustaining this growth momentum, shift from more experience-led strategies than pricing or discount-led strategies?
Discounting and pricing is not a strategy at all. It's more about staying relevant in terms of experience.
Sure.
And giving what they are looking for. So like, April is beginning of the school season. So we go big on teenage range and, beginner products, because moms are already shopping with them, and hence they come back to us for their kids.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Okay. Why I'm asking this, because intimate wear as a category obviously seen phenomenal growth, particularly in the last 18 months. And it has obviously then become a lot more competitive as well.
Right.
And it's very heartening to hear that in spite of the competitive intensity increasing, these strategies are now led more by customer experience than as much by pricing or discount, which was the case, let's say 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
4 years ago or 5 years ago. See, basis price is only so far that you can go. At the end of the day, you have to, and we collect a lot of data points on Clover.com. We interact with the customer in a big way. So basis those data points, we're constantly churning out customer feedback and working towards giving them a better experience.
Sure.
A new product that we launch, within 7 days of launch, we already have the customer feedback on it. And basis that, the designers start working on the new launch.
Great.
So it's absolutely centered around customer experience and how we can use technology to enhance that.
Sure. Great. Thanks so much, Soumya. Vineet, over to you. Obviously, you've had a stellar festive season so far. How, like, over the years, you would have seen slumps happening post-festive season. So what have you seen typically work earlier, like pre-COVID? Obviously, the strategy may have been different. What is V-Mart planning now in terms of what are some of the techniques that you feel would work for you in sustaining this post-festive season downturn that may happen?
Sure. So what we are looking for is the great season ahead. Great season ahead, largely because of the two big reasons, I can say. One is the weddings, the number of wedding dates when you are comparing with even the pre-COVID 2019 or 2018. I think this year, luckily, what happened, a lot of people, they postponed their marriages, etc. So it's like we can get the good amount of the number of marriages, number of dates, etc. Even when I just checked, like 15 days are there till January. Sawa, what we are calling the marriage Sawa. So I think I'm sure that will really help us, and that will help the Soumya also for that. You can see some smile on her face now. So that's the one part. Another part is the winter consumption. It's a good consuming season, be it food or be it like your home, casserole, thermo, etc. And the winter wear, what the consumption are happening in the market. Though I think the India major part of the two things are happening, and we will get the good pent-up demand, good amount of demand during this particular period from the customers. And I can say personally, like even after the Diwali was end on the 4th of the November, and when I'm looking the last 10 days or 9 days of the business, I think the numbers are like the jump is even higher. I can say when I'm comparing with the pre-COVID Diwali period or festive period. So the momentum is quite on. And what happened at this time, first time, though we are very small in the Omni, but still we have seen like just near the Diwali, our website was like completely crazed because of the good amount of the people visited our website. So that's the way we are getting the responses. And luckily, we are largely in the tier 2 and tier 3 market.
Right.
There the impact of the wedding season. So and we are the preferred, I can say, destination. I am not saying that we are selling the wedding specific product. It is largely because of the Barati, the people who are attending the marriages, wedding, etc. I think they are coming to our stores and they are buying this stuff from us. So that is helping us a lot.
Sure. And Vineet, for you, you in the post-festive season now in the last 10 days, are you seeing similar sort of growth continuing for both online and offline, or you're seeing this more driven by offline sales because customers are now coming back to retail stores?
So online, I can say the 1st to 7th of the November, that was the highest peak week for us. After that, we have seen some kind of slump. It's like, I guess, a 30% dip happened when we are comparing the first week of November. But the similar kind of momentum is there in the offline also. But generally, what happened, the Diwali is a quite peak week, and suddenly we see the complete drop in the numbers and business. But this year, I think the drop is not that significant. And the growth when we are comparing with the pre-COVID period after festive period is quite robust. So it is surpassing the 2019 number also. So that's quite encouraging.
That's good to hear. Vineet, actually, then I have a related question to that. Obviously, now you're seeing this growth, and you have such a large retail footprint. So you're obviously collecting a lot of data, and like today, consumer data. A lot of we talked about valuations being high, etc., are on the consumer data that everyone is sitting on. However, is that part of your core focus strategy as you plan a post-COVID business and planning a large growth? And if yes, how do you plan to do that both for the offline and online world? How do you leverage this gold mine called data, and how can a business do that typically?
Right, right, Kapil. I can say the data is a new fuel we know of this decade or this last, especially the last 5 to 7 years. Earlier, there was no any value of the data, so-called. People generally not collected data, but last 3-4 years, when I'm looking this organization, VMart also, the good amount of data, many crores customer base we have, and obviously we are utilizing that. The maturity level is like going up every 3 months or 6 months, kind of, in terms of utilization, and we can easily track the shopping behavior of the customers also out of that data. So obviously, we have the division of the VIP customers. The people are like spending high frequency and the high business amount, low frequency, low business amount, low value, something like that. So accordingly, we are giving this thing. One thing I can say personally, we experimented this time. We have given the unconditional voucher of we called, like, we sent the message to all the people, which was like Diwali Sagun. It's like we have given some amount there to the customer that was completely unconditional, and that's actually worked really well in both the world, the online and the offline. And the response was quite good. That was the unconditional voucher we have given. Generally, as a retailer, we have never given the unconditional voucher. Some conditions are always there. Either you have to do some kind of shopping, something like that. But unconditional voucher and customer, I can say, as soon as the unconditional love also towards that.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Vineet. Ravi, a similar question to you. You are obviously an experiential brand, and data obviously becomes important for you to nudge and figure out the right customer experience. So I'm going to touch upon it, that they get very feedback very fast, and hence it betters their product and their offerings to the consumers. How are you leveraging for your brand, for Wonderchef, data, particularly both again on the online and offline world? And are they being combined to offer a holistic experience to the consumers?
For us, the data generation points are a bit lesser than both VMart and Clovia. Because Clovia primarily sells through its own website, so you are in direct touch with the consumer. VMart sells primarily through its own stores, so you know the customer. In our case, in 90% of the cases, we don't know our customer. We only know our customer when they buy from our own website or from our EBOs. But when they buy from our 10,000 outlets, which are serviced through general trade, or when they buy through our 1,200 outlets of modern trade department stores, or when they buy Wonderchef on Amazon via Cloudtail or Flipkart, we don't get the customer data. So our problem is different. It's more like an FMCG brand who has a customer profile, but does not have customer data. Having said that, we do a lot of things to bring back the customer whom we don't know, but they might have purchased a Wonderchef product. We try to motivate them through a Shagun voucher, like Vineet said, an unconditional voucher that, hey, you bought this wonderful product. We don't know you, but come and use this on our website. So we are able to get about 10,000 odd people coming back to our website just to use this coupon from about 2.5 lakh deliveries that we make every month. It's about 4% conversion, not bad, not great. So we have to enhance that. We would love to find ways how we can get to know the customers better. Of course, in those 10% cases where we know our customers, we do a lot to bring them back into the fold and cross-sell and upsell and everything.
Understood. Soumya, to you as well, you've obviously briefly touched upon it, that how the feedback loop works for you. We mentioned, obviously, you are collecting a lot more data on your website. How are you leveraging this, particularly for a D2C brand? In fact, there's a question from the audience as well, that how can they leverage this to build a brand in a sustainable way and continue to
So we live in a country where
by leveraging the data.
Yeah, so we live in a country where color preferences, sizes, festivals change every almost 100 kilometers or less.
It's true.
And we've almost like 700,000 women have taken fit test on Clover.com. So
Oh.
that's a large pool of fits and sizes that we have available, which help us understand what is the customer looking for in a certain region. So
Okay.
women sitting in Punjab may be looking for a different size, while women sitting in Maharashtra are looking for a different size.
True.
Similarly, we've every night there's a feedback engine that simulates almost 150 million data points across the 3 million women that we've serviced till date.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out, in terms of, and we were a fast fashion brand to the sense that, we launched the fit and then we collected feedback on it, then launched the color of it, another print of it,
Right.
slight changes to it, and kept on learning along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, when we were launching a lounge range, an activewear range, we implemented these learnings in that range.
Mhm.
We've understood, what patterns will work in a certain state, what colors will work in a certain state, what is that relevant customer looking for? Is she more comfortable shopping offline, and hence let's send her to one of the offline touch points instead of asking her to come and shop online,
Mhm.
so on and so forth. So data has been a big part of our journey at Clovia.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And is that changing now in the post-pandemic world, or in terms of your plan to leverage this, or even now?
No. Data is everything. So I think we're anyway. We don't call ourselves a fashion brand, we call ourselves a tech brand. So and we've used technology in a big way to enhance our customer experience, and if uh, even going forward, that's going to be our strategy.
Sure. Great. I think we're getting a lot of audience questions. I had budgeted 15 minutes, but given the amount of questions, I think we'll get right into that. Vineet, the first question is for you. The question is that online or offline, which channel do you think will pick up post festivities? And in fact, it can be for all of you, where you can share as to what's your view on now that hopefully we will not see a third wave and retail footprint like offline walk-ins coming back. Are you betting a lot on offline in your future strategies, or still continue to focus heavily on online? Vineet, if you could start.
I don't know. Sometimes people actually confuse with the online versus the offline. I think it's ultimately we are serving to the one same customer by and large, I can say.
Right.
The same customer, same consumer, they are buying online also, they are buying offline also. So it is not depending, like it is depending on your organization, where you are and what kind of the quantum you are doing in this segment, depending on that only.
Okay.
What we have seen, like I think the mix when we are comparing the offline and online is almost similar. It's even during festive also and after festive also. So since they are in both the world, so the mix is almost same. So it is not like the momentum will come only in the offline, it will not come in the online. It is not like that. The momentum will come in both.
Okay, understood. Ravi, your thoughts on this?
I think there is going to be a bit of a challenge for a lot of online brands considering the movement in Cloudtail. Because as we all know, there are a whole lot of D2C brands which were built around Amazon. Amazon has done an incredible job in going deep down with a lot of vendors, a lot of brands, created brands. And Cloudtail was a major player. Now, of course, we trust Amazon to be able to flip over the whole thing, but you know what I mean? It's not going to be that seamless. It's not going to be that easy. And we can already feel some of the pushback.
Okay.
So I see that as a temporary challenge. Probably it might last another 6 months or so in the online space. And for a brand like us, which is slightly premium, Amazon works better than Flipkart. So we are also concerned by that. So we are increasing our presence in Amazon, not only directly through our own marketplace efforts, but also through different distributors, etc. But besides that, I agree with Vineet. It's about reaching out to the customer. It's not just about online, offline. At the same time, for a young brand like us to create a credible presence across India takes time. While we are an all India distributed brand, but to give you a perspective, one of our major competitors, let's say Bajaj, is present in 1 lakh outlets. We are present in 10,000 outlets because it takes time for any brand to appoint distributors,
Right.
Work safely with them, make sure the money will come back to get the shelf space in the dealers, etc.
Right.
Online is providing us parity. And as a brand in our industry, we are far ahead of anybody else in our digital presence and the social media assets that we have.
Right.
So I think that is helping us. So I see it both as an opportunity, because the very fact that we are not so penetrated in offline means that we have an incredible runway available to us.
Sure.
At the same time, the more we can leverage our foundation that we have built in online space, we will grow in online as well.
Sure. Soumya, your thoughts? You had mentioned that Clovia is betting big on offline. So do you see this being a debate internally in your organization, that which is going to grow bigger, and hence we invest more energy on one particular domain?
So actually, we believe that you have to be present everywhere your customer is. So while there's a customer who's very comfortable shopping online, there's a whole lot of other customers who are shopping only offline.
Right.
So the channels are complementary to each other, and they can't really compete with each other. And that's why I feel that right till the time we were online only, we started online because that's where the customer could find discreet shopping. There were there was a whole range of problems with the distributors that retailers were facing, because our size range is quite big, and there's only so much shelf space in any given store, and hence a retailer could only stock certain sizes, and that's what was available. And that's why online made sense for us to give a whole range of sizes and colors and fashion that the customer was not able to find in that limited shelf space. But now that we've acquired that customer, it only makes sense for us to now go and cater to the other half and provide the same online like experience in offline space as well. So I believe that you have to be present everywhere that your customer is. If your customer is only online, then it makes sense for us to be just online. But our customer, I am sure, is in both the spaces.
Sure. And for a niche category like yourself, do you see online playing out in the form of EBOs, or more like a distribution-led offline play, which Ravi was alluding to?
So in distributor play, we feel a little bit of a problem. Like I said, that then distributor can only stock up so many sizes, and hence it would lead to a bad customer experience. That's why we focus more on EBOs and large format stores, where we are able to interact with the customer in a more intimate manner.
Understood. Okay. Thanks. I think there are more questions around the trends. Like festive season has been good for most. I think we did touch upon that trends are expected to continue to grow for the next quarter. I think the question also is that, do we see as the overall story playing out to be a positive growth story, let's say next year as well, by mid of 2022? Do you see similar growth momentum continuing, or do you see it plateauing, going down as the overall story, assuming cases continue to be similar? Ravi, your thoughts on this?
If I had the crystal ball, I would be the king. Okay, but what I've always believed in is that, especially as a startup and even a large company, I think we have to write our own story. I have rarely wondered about what is happening in the market, what is the GDP growth, what is the inflation growth. I think there's enough runway for growth for any company if it does new things, responds to the challenges quickly, keeps innovating, and that's how we look at life. So we will grow regardless of whatever happens in the market. We will grow.
Sure. Vineet, how about you in terms of planning for V-Mart? Are you planning out an aggressive next 2022 or?
Look, I think the challenge is what we foresee. It's not the demand challenge we will foresee in the coming year. The problem what we are getting, the huge inflation is there around your material cost, etc. Even when I'm
Mhm.
talking, the yarn prices went up. When I'm comparing this just pre-COVID, it's like went up by around 50-60% type. It's very difficult to sustain, and you cannot pass on the same burden to the consumer. Otherwise, your prices of the end product will be, I think, very different. So that's a very big challenge, and it's not only the inflation around your yarn or your product. It is like inflation around the other things also. So
Right.
just had a discussion with 2 days back. I had a discussion with the one of the renowned economists, like how the things will be and all. So what they are saying, like even the next 2 quarter, which means the mid of the 22, the things will continue like that. So
Okay.
what we foresee is the challenges is there in terms of the supplies, but I think since the consumer sentiments are quite good right now, and what we have seen in the just recent few weeks, festivity and all, I think that will continue. Provided I think that there will not be any kind of again the problem we get from the COVID etc., which I can say might be, and we will not get that problem. I think
Sure.
then demand is not the problem at all. What we see.
Sure. Sure. Are you also seeing, Soumya, a similar thing? Because intimate wear, as I mentioned, has grown. Like we work with some of the large intimate wear, and they've grown 300% plus year on year. Are you seeing that trend continuing in going into 2022 as well? Similar growth levels going on?
Yes, and that growth will come at the back of newer customers coming from unbranded to branded.
Sure.
It will come on back of newer categories being launched within the intimate care portfolio. So intimate is just not bras and briefs. It's also, there's a whole lot of sports bras. Activewear has become a big category.
Yes.
Stay-at-home wear has become a big category. Lounge has become a big category. So I think we'll be able to sustain this growth. But I do agree with Vineet on yarn prices, and I think economic forces will also play a role. And while short term, this growth to be seen, long term, I think our economic forces will also play a big role in whatever strategies we implement.
Sure. Thanks. I think we've now getting questions around after sales. I think post-purchase experience is something that's been talked about, particularly in festive season. We've seen some of the brands struggling being able to offer, let's say on their website, an Amazon-like experience of one-day delivery, or being able to error rates kind of go up. How are you in your respective organizations investing in post-purchase experience? What are some of the strategies that you are building out? Soumya, if you could start at Clovia, what are you seeing?
So items like one-day delivery used to be added customer experience earlier, but they've now become a mandate. So I think every organization has to sort of strive towards staying relevant with these new mandates that were once your differentiator. So I think at Clovia, we are engaging with the customer via our socials. We're looking for new problems to solve. We're looking at, what are the customers talking about. So we're engaging in a whole conversation with them via our socials. So our socials are very, we do everything around the keyword joy, and our socials also work around that single keyword. Our email communication, anything that you see on the Clovia website page, app page, it's all around joy. So even post shopping, we're just looking to deliver joy to the customer when engaging with them.
Okay.
And that's why that's how we hope that we'll stay top of their minds.
Understood. And in terms of technology, what kind of processes are you putting in place to ensure that they have like a good experience, lower error rates, faster deliveries? What are some of the things that you are seeing, best practices that you are seeing at Clovia?
So yeah, faster delivery is one of them. We are now looking at expanding our warehouse and seeing that if there's a way for us to do same day delivery instead of the next day delivery, at least in the towns that we have a warehouse.
Sure.
Again, in terms of customer experience, there's a whole team collecting these data points and understanding more about our existing customers and seeing how we can interact with them more to deliver a quality product. So there's a customer who's possibly looking at middle sizes instead of absolute size, and then we'll work towards bringing that. If there's a whole range of customers who started with us with the basics, then went to, the whole fashion range, and now are onto the maternity wear. And so we learned that through our conversations, and now we're expanding our maternity range to service to those customers. So
Sure.
the brand is growing with the customer.
Sure, understood. Vineet, a question for you. You mentioned that V-Mart is, while the consumer has become omnichannel, V-Mart is also getting into the whole omnichannel journey. It's in the early phases for you. How do you see that strategy play out now in the post-pandemic world, especially when now the visits to the offline stores are increasing? Do you see this omnichannel play continuing from the brand side? And do you see stores increasingly become not just for customers to walk in, but also dispatch centers for online orders? Do you see that strategy playing out, continue to play out even now?
Yeah, certainly. I think there is no any doubt on that Omni will become very large and large in the coming time, and that's the way we are preparing ourselves also in terms of adding more and more number of the stores for delivering the product. So that is happening right now, and there is no doubt that obviously it will become large and large. So I think our journey is hardly, I can say, in the online world is hardly 1.5 year, 2 year old only.
Okay.
Right. But I think looking at the even initial stage also, the lot of preparedness, a lot of things happen now. We are already in the marketplace of the Amazon and all. Myntra also, we are mapping ourselves soon. So that will be there, our own website. I think we are getting the good result out of that.
Sure.
One good thing is that I think the Omni is helping us in terms of like, where is our market? So sometimes when we look at some cities which actually surprised us in terms of the number of the order what we are getting, the biggest market for us is the South market, where we were not there before the limited takeover.
Okay.
So that shows that clearly our product are much needed there also.
Okay, understood. Thanks, Preet. Ravi, related question to you, because you mentioned that you're dependent more on the marketplaces. So do you see the omnichannel play coming out through marketplaces? Are you also seeing a similar trend where push by marketplaces is driving this more than, let's say, a website driven omnichannel growth?
For us, we look at digital as one bucket.
Okay.
And the entire e-commerce digital play for us is about 50% of our overall business. 50% is offline, which I would say is substantial for a company of our size. But you asked a very interesting question about post-purchase experience. As a consumer durable, our definition of post-purchase experience is slightly different. When a customer is buying from our website, they get a delivery between 3 to 4 days. And we are okay with that, because we announce very clearly on our website that this is the time it is going to be there. Yeah. And yet customers buy from there. And to be able to match Amazon experience, I'll have to invest hell of a lot more. Yeah. And I don't think that is our game. As a consumer durable brand, my after-sale service begins once the sale is completed, because these are serviceable products.
Right.
So we rather invest in our after-sale service network, our technicians, our spare parts. And that is where I want to be able to give a 24-hour service within 24 hours to reach anywhere in India.
Sure.
Today, we are able to reach 12,000 pin codes within 24 hours, and we reach another 12,000 pin codes within 48 hours. The idea is to strive more and more towards a 24-hour service, because if your mixie is not working, or your cooktop is not working, or your pressure cooker is not working, a 48-hour wait is also too much. So for me, that is my definition. One has to choose the battles. I choose to fight that battle rather than trying to compete with Amazon through my own website.
Sure. Understood. Okay. Soumya, a question for you is that Clovia has recently ventured into beauty category and is already a leader in innerwear segment. What new can we expect from your kitty going ahead?
So like I mentioned earlier, we're doing a whole range for activewear. We're doing a whole range of lounge stay-at-home wear. And next we'll be launching our sub-brand for maternity wear. So we've done a very small batch of it right now. We'll expand further on that.
Okay.
And let's see where the tide takes us next.
Great, thanks. Vineet, a question for you. What should be the right strategy that a business should adopt during this period to grow in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, which is where you're also seeing a lot of growth coming from?
So I can say that our business is like more than 80% of the business is coming from the tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 only here. So tier 1 mix is very, very low for us. And I can say a fabulous market, like any largely driven by the rural kind of the economy. And when we look at the all the brands are like running towards it. So we're going deeply penetrating into the tier 4 and tier 3 and all these market. So huge potential. So net what we have seen just 1.5 decade or 2 decades back in the city called Delhi or Mumbai or Bangalore type, the same kind of trend we can witness in the smaller town. And our penetration is very, very good. Markets are quite exciting, and that's the new journey, I can say, for the entire retail world.
Sure. Are there specific strategies that retailers should be adopting to be serving these tier 2, tier 3 markets? So
obviously the amount of the footfall, because when you are opening the store in the city of Delhi, where the population size of the 1.75 CR, okay, obviously the rentals are quite high. People cost is quite high. Your other expenses are quite high. So what we have to adopt is like it should be the right size. You cannot have the same like you are opening 30,000, 50,000 square feet area. Where you can open the smaller size and have the better productivity through that. And obviously the low cost model always work in these cities. You cannot have the high cost there, rental or people or whatever it is like. Sure.
Thanks, Vineet. Ravi, there's a question which is that while festive season is all about acquiring new customers, some also alluded to that. What are some of the strategies that you deploy today to have repeat purchases from same customers, new customers that you acquired during festive season?
The best thing is cross-selling. As Soumya has been reiterating that the idea is to add more ranges so that one can get a higher share of the wallet. We do the same. We have over 600 products for the kitchen alone. Somebody buys our blender and they have a good experience. They tend to feel normally that even our cookware would be better, or even our chopper would be better, even our grill would be better. And we have experienced that. Typically, when a customer buys Wonderchef, they end up buying 4 or 5 appliances within the next 2 years. So we have to keep giving them that good service. Having said that, we are also launching a new category in a very major way. And today I won't reveal what it is, but in a month's time, we will reveal it on our website. And the idea will be to expand beyond kitchen to the same TG and give them the same experience that we have given them in the kitchen.
Sure. Thanks, Ravi. So Amit, there's a question on building a D2C brand. How can somebody build a brand in a sustainable way with having lesser marketing spends now that there are so many tools available? Is there a playbook that you've seen work at Clovia to be able to build a large D2C brand?
I think it's a very generic question. So,
spill out all your secrets, Soumya.
So whoever is asked this question, I will drop my email ID for you, and you can reach out and we can have a chat offline on this. But I think otherwise the question is too generic for me to sort of say anything.
Yeah, maybe you can spend the next 30 minutes talking about it as a separate topic.
Basically, don't spend more than you have. And if you want to do that, spend so much that others are forced to finance you.
I think Ravi sir has summed it up perfectly. He was one of our key mentors when we started the business.
Yeah.
So I think he anyway is the perfect fit to answer it.
Great. We need any advice to smaller retailers, especially post-COVID? How should they be planning their business given the plethora of online brands coming in? How should they be planning their, let's say, next 1 to 2 years? Any advice to them?
Obviously, it's like online is a one medium to serve the customer. If we can afford, or any of the small retailer also can afford, can choose the online also as a one medium, so that you should be in both the market present at one point of time. Apart from that, I think the COVID taught us a lot, like in terms of how the self-sustenance is important, how you can, if you continue to work on your debt burden, etc., that may create the trouble. So we should be very, very logical, and we should be very, very sensible and mindful in terms of what we are doing, what they spend, and how you can cost like on the lower side. Obviously, as a retail, ultimately the customer is buying product. Yeah. So that should always be the robust and it should be the best priced in the market. But the purchase is required across, if possible.
Sure. Sure. Great. I think we are now almost towards the end of it. So thanks again, all of you. It was a lovely panel. I think it was really heartening to see that the whole outlook on the growth momentum is very encouraging. I think not just the next 6 months, even later on, obviously driven by different levers, but it was, like I said, heartening to hear that this growth momentum is expected to continue. Ravi obviously mentioned about certain challenges, but we will definitely be able to. It's always good to hear enterprising journeys where how different brands have been able to overcome their journey. So I'm hoping the audience had a lot to take away, particularly on the fact that the consumer becoming omni-channel, tier 2, tier 3, becoming new growth frontiers. I think those are some of my takeaways, and I'm hoping the audience also had a lot to take away. Thanks again for your time, and lovely listening to all of you and learning from all of you.
Thank you, Kapil.
Thank you so much, Kapil, for hosting. This was a brilliant session. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye,
Kapil,
Neha.
and thank you all the speakers. I think it's been a great session, and we are getting good response from all the delegates as well. So thank you very much. And we'd like all to follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Insta. We are doing many such initiatives. The next one happens to be on the 25th of December. So till then, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.